Right now, there's a Twitch streamer getting tomatoes thrown at him all across Twitter for a clip that's going viral of him having an embarrassing and horrible response to one of his community members answering a question that he asked them.
In Spanish, and it's chef's kiss. All right. Curvy, where the fuck have you been? Oh my God. Well, tell you what, Miss Dirty Curvy, you know what we're not going to do? We're not going to talk about it in my chat because it's Friday. And that is a whole big bucket of bummer.
And his response is a big barrel of butt cheeks. So to give context to this situation here on the lore, this was a regular viewer of this streamer, an avid supporter who had taken a bit of a hiatus and was unfortunately going through a very hard time with her mother passing. So when he saw that she was back, he asked her, "Oh, where have you been?" To which she just answered honestly, her mother had passed away, so, you know, it was a bit of a tough time. That's why she was taking a break. And then for some reason, this must have input a cheat code into the streamer's brain that just sent him into, like, debate club. He, for some reason, then just goes into, like, this TED Talk about how you shouldn't answer his question if your answer is something sad, because it brings down the vibes of the stream. It's baffling, because you had asked her, and she just answered your question honestly. I'll play a bit more of the clip before getting into it, but I want to make it clear early on that I understand a lot of streamers have a similar perspective where you don't really want someone in chat that's just talking about like a really traumatic experience they're going through, because it's not really the place for it and the streamer's not the therapist. Like, I do get that perspective, but there's a difference between like just a random person treating Twitch chat like it's their psychiatrist and you asking someone a question and them answering honestly, especially when it's a member of the community that you already kind of know to a certain level. I don't understand why you're all of a sudden getting mad at them for answering that.
And I'm sorry for your loss, but we're not doing that in my fucking chat. Thank you. Well, okay, Miss Dirty Curvy, you said, no, that's fine. You asked, so I told. No, I didn't ask you to tell me the biggest fucking bummer news in the world. I said, hey, what's up? How are you? You know what? Let me give you a little bit of a lesson, Miss Nerdy Kirby. When something really, really bad is going on in your life, and in a public forum, someone asks you, hey, what's up? How are you? There are two acceptable responses. Good, and you know what? I'll make it through. That's it.
So you want to just talk to NPCs that only have two dialogue options. Okay? Then why bother trying to communicate with a human being? Like, okay, give them a script. Make sure your community has the acceptable answer script to my stupid questions. I don't actually care where you've been. Like, just tell me one of these two canned responses. Like, this is so fucking dumb. And I also love the audacity. Let me give you a lesson here on how to handle my questions going forward. It's just so laughable that he's acting like some kind of social savant here about how to handle public conversations and what you're allowed to say. You're a fucking Twitch streamer, man. All of us as streamers are not exactly the most socially gifted. Like, let's just face the facts here. So why are you trying to act like the authority on the matter here, as if you're some kind of social guru who's now giving a lecture to your community about what is and is not allowed in a public conversation? It's fucking goofy. It's very silly.
How are you? Good? Or, you know what? I'll make it through. Awesome. Love to hear it. See, there you go. Or Prom's response. Yeah, I said, Prom, how are you doing? She says, I'm alive.
You know what's just as easy as those two responses is you being able to respond with some level of empathy like, oh man, that's terrible, I'm sorry to hear that. Or, damn, that's awful news, stay strong. Or, man, shit, that's terrible, hopefully today's stream can lift your spirits a bit. Like, you also have equally easy responses to, like, instead of dwell on the negative here and for some reason try and shame her for answering your question honestly, you could have just as easily had a very simple and empathetic response to it and moved on from it. But instead, now you're putting all of it on her and blaming her for bringing down the entire atmosphere, as if she somehow forced you to enter your goofo mode here, your insano style tantrum that you're throwing. Like, it is your fault. You could have either not asked the question if you didn't want, like, real answers, or you could have had some level of empathy and just given, like, a general, decent response like, damn, awful news, sorry to hear that, stay strong. And then just go about, like, a good vibe stream. Like, it's super easy.
Oh, I asked you where you were. Look, Mr. Curvy, I'm just subtly trying to tell you that unloading really heavy news in people's chats on Twitch is not like good etiquette. It's just, it's not the place to do it. That's all I'm trying to tell you. Heavy news like that, when someone asks, hey, where have you been? You don't need to tell them, well, my dog died, my husband left me for a younger woman, my house burnt down, and my car got stolen. So I've been a little bit busy. That's why I haven't been around. Because it's like, oh, God, like, ugh.
Oh, God, your bad news is making my easy job just a little stressful, because now I've heard your fucking bad news, like, ugh. Like, can you have some level of shame? Can you stop having bad things happen to you and then share it with me when I ask? Like, fuck. God, where do you get off? What a stupid perspective, bro. What are you talking about? That's not even what they did. You asked them a question and they gave a simple response to it. Now, for a little further context, she, in her first response, accidentally led with, like, a laughing emotion. So she led with, like, LMAO because she was responding to, like, a joke he had told and then answered his question about her mom passing away. She got a little concerned that it was going to be misconstrued like she was joking about that. So then she clarified again that, no, like, it's just been a rough time. It's just been horrible. So she said it, like, twice or 3 times in total, but it was never to dwell on it or try and treat him like a therapist or treat chat like it was a self-help subreddit or something. She just answered his question but didn't like her first answer because she thought it might get misconstrued, so then just said, like, no, it's just been bad, and that's where it was. She didn't try and, like, keep pressing it further or anything. For some reason, he did. He took it and ran with it and made it an overwhelmingly negative thing and then shamed her publicly in front of the entire community for it, which is so fucking weird and terrible thing to do. Now, like I said in the very beginning, I do understand the perspective of not wanting your community to treat it like it's like a therapy session where they're dropping really heavy things going on in their personal lives into the Twitch chat or asking you to solve the problems for them. I do agree that that is just not the time nor the place, and that's not going to help the person either. That's not going to help them or anyone else around you that needs, like, professional help and someone to actually be there and qualified to give real helpful advice to that person that's struggling. And Twitch chat is the last place you'd want to go for anything real. So I do agree, like, that is never a good case, like, that's never a good situation to be in, but that's not the situation this streamer was in. He had asked a community member that he knew a question, and it was a personal question. Where have you been? Now I'm waiting for your answer. And they explained, well, it's just been a bad time because her mom had passed away. And that's it. She didn't, like, keep going forward about it, like, to try and, like, make it all about what she's going through. She just answered his question point blank. And for some reason, he went off the rails about it.
Like, you know, like, if someone asks, like, hey, what's up? Where have you been? And it's heavy, just be like, I had a bunch of shit going on, so I've been lying low for a little while. Got it. That's it. I'm not trying to rip you a new ass.
Yeah, not trying to rip you a new ass, just trying to embarrass you in front of the entire stream. The lack of self-awareness here. Buddy, that is kind of exactly what she did, but instead of just saying, I've got some shit that I'm going through, so I was lying low, she said, well, family member passed away, so I was lying low. That's it. She didn't continue to, like, go through the nitty-gritty on everything that happened. She did almost exactly what you said, but was a little more specific on exactly what that shit was. But in essence, it's the same thing. Would you have still melted down if she had said, I had a lot of bad, horrible things happen, so I was laying low for a bit? I don't think so. You probably would have just given a normal, like, decent human response like, man, sorry to hear that. Hope that shit clears up soon. Why couldn't you have had that same level-headed, rational response to her just being a bit more specific with what that horrible thing she was going through was? She didn't just dump everything on you and expect you to you know, like, coddle her or do something special. Like, she just answered your question. So this is where the viral clip ends, but he did have a response to this, and it's really worse than you're probably imagining. But before getting to his response, I want to hit you with a bucket of cold water to shock you with some statistics here. 93% of all Twitch streamers pull less than 5 viewers, so anything more than 5 immediately puts you in the top 6.7% of the site. These are old numbers too. These are from 2021, so I imagine this has only grown. So why am I bringing this up? Well, because the streamer who right now is catching more tomatoes than the goddamn Heinz ketchup factory is not a huge streamer. At least not by most people on Twitter's definition of a big streamer. He has around 55 average viewers, and to put that in perspective, that does put him in the top 1% of Twitch, at least based on the numbers I'm seeing. Because again, the vast majority of streamers are streaming to actually 0 people. Crickets. You have better luck getting your old high school classmates to watch your Facebook live stream than you do getting found on Twitch and starting a community from nothing. So everyone that's just writing him off as a nobody and fuck small streamers, who cares what they are saying or what their opinion is, I hate that perspective and I will always hate that perspective. The mentality around numbers is so like fucked up these days that they can't recognize how big of a number 55 average viewers is. Like, yes, it's not the biggest streamers on Twitch, but that's still a pretty large number when put in perspective with how big the market is and how saturated it is. But this ties into the bigger point I want to make on the back of those numbers. The market being as saturated as it is, carving out a community being as tough as it is, the last thing you want to do is fuck it up, which is exactly what this guy has just done. He's currently streaming right now with like 140 viewers, which is more than he normally averages, but I imagine the majority of this is hate watchers hoping to just shit on him in the chat. And I've already seen it from a couple of his subs. Some people were saying how disappointed they were in him. And that's a really big deal, because when you have a really tight-knit community, once the viewers start feeling like you don't actually give a fuck about them at all, or that you're kind of a piece of shit, they probably won't stick around because there's so many other streamers that they'll just go to. So this will potentially end up being a huge problem for him. His first response was this on Twitter, where he's just taking full responsibility for being an asshole, which I guess is fine. Like, he's just saying, yeah, I just was a real piece of shit here. But then 12 hours later, he made an apology video and doubled down on everything from his initial Twitter clip.
Firstly, it is well known in my channel that I do not tolerate heavy news, drama, or trauma dumping, if you will, being entered or dropped into the chat. This has been discussed and explained and made clear many times while I've been live over the last 4+ years that I've been on Twitch. The people that come to my channel often, they know this. They see it all the time. So that's something that I want to make sure everyone understands.
He directly blames her for violating his terms of service for being a chatter, basically, saying, I have very strict rules, you're not allowed to kill vibes with bad news or anything drama-related or heavy. Okay, then don't ask questions that could potentially lead to, like, someone being honest with you, man. Not everything in the world is going to be sunshine and rainbows. So why ask a question to your viewers that they might just be open about if you don't want to actually hear it? You know, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, and why are you blaming her? You're fucking blaming the victim here in this situation. What a terrible look. When you had already in your previous tweet sang a very different tune, where you're like, yeah, this one's kind of on me, I was a douchebag. What changed? All of a sudden now, you woke up this morning and you feel like you're not a douchebag, you're a superhero. In fact, she's the villain because she didn't follow your strict chat rules.
This is not the first time that she's violated the expectation that people not share heavy news in my channel. The frustration from having her argue in chat that she was, quote, just answering my question, even though she's been spoken to about this type of thing before.
Calling this an apology is a disservice to apologies. He is literally just justifying his reaction and saying it's all her fault. She violated our expectation of her in chat and then said she has a history of doing it. And in her statement, one of her twit-longers, she clarifies a bit deeper on what he's talking about. And he's pretty misleading with the way he portrays what happened here. Again, you asked her a question, she answered it. So the quote, I was just answering your question, is very accurate because that is all she was doing, man.
Frowned upon. Dude, I'm getting follows right now. From Joe JCKS. Bro Chacho, welcome to the channel, dude. Thanks for the follow. Yeah.
He even acknowledges that maybe he should edit that out and then decides not to. You should have edited that out. That's what a big yikes moment there. In your fucking apology, not an apology, in your blaming, pointing the finger video, you get a follower, take a moment to say thanks for the follow and like just call out the follower during this. What a bad look. How could you not recognize that as a potential problem? But regardless, the actual video he has made here is not a good response. It is somehow even worse than the initial one with the doubling down and trying to justify it. Like, just have an obvious common sense level-headed response like, yep, I overreacted. This was stupid. I shouldn't have done that. I don't even know what I was thinking. I must have just been in a bad mood. Like it was just so easy to move on from this. But instead, you doubled down, and now you look real silly for it. That's about it. So yeah. Well, I never thought this day would come. A YouTuber just made an apology video worse than Sienna May's iconic interpretive dance. For those that don't remember, Sienna May was a TikToker accused of sexual assault, and for some reason she marched into the mines of Mordor and hatched the most diabolical plan of all time, forged the worst video apology ever, where it was an interpretive dance apology. So she starts fucking boogieing out there, doing some of this, a little bit of these, and by God, I'm ashamed to say it, but she even did some of this. Just kind of downplaying the entire situation. And keep in mind, it was sexual assault accusations that also had a video as well. So there was a ton of evidence, and she still just tried to do like an apology interpretive dance. I did not think there would ever come a time that someone makes a worse response than that. But hooey, how wrong I was.
Hey, it's been a while since you saw my face. I haven't been doing so great, so I took a little break. So a lot of people are saying some things about me that aren't quite true. Doesn't matter if it's true though, just as long as it's entertaining to you.
That bleeding in your ears is normal. This is a ukulele apology video. She's turned her accusations and her response into a Disney musical number here, I suppose. She's got a whole little Broadway moment here to sing and talk about it. Now, before getting into it, let me give some context on what she's apologizing for. Colleen Ballinger is most known for her Miranda Sings character. If you've been on YouTube for a long time, you've definitely heard that name before. She was a massive superstar on the platform. She even had her own Netflix show. And recently, another YouTuber named Adam McIntyre has really started to spearhead this information about her past and everything that's happened to them, as well as the group chat that she used to have with a lot of her fans that were minors, and the way she conducted herself. She's been accused of like asking for ass pics from her fans, and again, most of these fans were minors at the time. She'd even send really weird videos to them. It's just, there's been a ton of evidence of very unacceptable shit, so she's been accused of like grooming as well as being a predator, and this video that she made is her response to those very serious allegations.
All aboard the toxic gossip train. You're chugging down the tracks of misinformation. The toxic gossip train. You got a one-way ticket to manipulation station.
Nah, she's giving us a one-way ticket to defecation station, because this is some shit here. I don't know how she thought this was a good idea at all. She doesn't even disprove any of the allegations, she just calls it the toxic gossip train, like it's some kind of little musical number out of Magic School Bus or something that she's not taking seriously. In the face of very serious claims, she decides to put on the entire clown outfit and grab her trusty ukulele and go to battle. But it's not really a battle because she doesn't even really tackle any of the claims. She doesn't refute anything or defend herself. She just makes a song.
Toxic gossip train. Tie me to the tracks and harass me for my past. Cause rumors look like facts. If you don't mind the gaps, I won't survive in the crash. But hey, at least you're having fun.
I'm sorry to keep pausing this so frequently, I just have so much to say, and trust me, I'm really doing you a favor with all of these breaks here to give you a brief, like, respite from the fucking unbelievable cringe. Like, this is some pure, undiluted, unhinged delusion here. This is so strong, I feel like it needs to be added to the periodic table, like the element of delusion that she is displaying here. Like, this song is fucking haunted, honestly. This is like that track out of Courage the Cowardly Dog with Velvet Vic, where it, like, sucks you into the record player. That's this song, but it sucks you into a group chat where she's, like, asking about your first period and asking for ass pics or something. But the reason I'm pausing it here is because this is something she falls back on a lot in the song, and I don't want to just keep playing too much of the song. She seems to think that a lot of people are taking pleasure in watching all of this and says, like, oh, it's all untrue, but you're just doing it because it's entertaining and you're having fun. I've never fully understood that perspective because I imagine most people don't have fun learning that people they grew up watching or people they were at least aware of being a big influence turned out to be absolute fucking scumbags. Groomers, predators, all these horrible things. Like, no one has fun with accusations like that, I don't think. Certainly not the victims of it. The victims of Miranda Singh's Colleen Ballinger here definitely aren't having any fun here. This has been mentally damaging shit that they've carried for a long time. Now, I do think there is an argument to be made about, like, YouTuber apologies as entertainment. I made a whole fucking tier list on it. There is an element of fun to watching a completely disconnected from reality weirdo do something like Miranda Sings has done with this fucking singing apology. It's hard not to point and laugh at the absolute insanity of that situation. But in those cases, no one's laughing about the actual allegations. Nobody wants someone in a position of power like Miranda Sings, Colleen Ballinger, to turn out to be a groomer or a predator.
Hi everyone. I've been wanting to come online and talk to you about a few things. Even though my team has strongly advised me to not say what I want to say, I recently realized that they never said that I couldn't sing what I want to say, so.
Holy shit, she's done it. She's activating 100% of her brain. What an incredible loophole. Checkmate, lawyers. Her legal team must have been there like, no! She got us. How did we not think of that? We never said she couldn't sing it. Damn, she's good.
Many years ago, I used to message my fans, but not in a creepy way like a lot of you are trying to suggest. It was more of a loser kind of way, where I was just trying to be besties with everybody. There were times in the DMs when I would overshare details of my life, which was really weird of me. I haven't done that for years, you see, because I changed my behavior and I took accountability. Let's go on the toxic gossip train.
If you have anything to refute the claims, why don't you present it instead of doing your little talent show ukulele act? She's saying that this video, in the beginning of the song, she's saying that she's only going to be talking about the facts, and then provides nothing. The facts must have been out of town during the filming of this because she does not present them at all. She doesn't provide anything to refute any of the claims. All she does is say, like, no, that's all wrong. Those aren't the facts. You guys are falling for the toxic gossip train. Misinformation super duper station. Whatever. Like, she doesn't actually provide any evidence, any counterpoints, nothing. All she does is just say that it's a lie. That's it. And I guess you're just supposed to take her at her word because she's singing it? Like, it doesn't make any sense. This is just invalidating to all of her victims. Like, she is, like, actually, like, laughing in their face with this video, I feel. It's pretty disgusting, actually. I don't understand how she thought this could possibly be perceived in any meaningful, positive way. Because, again, she doesn't defend herself. She doesn't refute any of the claims of all of, like, the grooming accusations. If she thinks that all of this is overblown or incorrect, why wouldn't she come forward with her evidence to support that and say, like, nope, this is where all of this is wrong, this is where it's false, this is where you've been lied to and manipulated. She doesn't do that. All she has here is this dumb little fucking song. I just can't even wrap my head around the thought process.
In all seriousness, I do think it's really important to hold people accountable for their mistakes. We should hope that everyone can learn from their mistakes and grow and change their behavior and be a better person. And this is something that I've always tried to do when I make mistakes, and it's something that I will continue to try to do. What? Oh, you don't care? Oh, okay. I thought you wanted me to take accountability, but that's not the point of your mob mentality, is it? No. Your goal is to ruin the life of the person you despise while you dramatize your lies and monetize their demise.
Once again, this is just like shitting on the victims that have come forward. There are tons and tons of messages as well as videos, like just an overwhelming amount of evidence that's all pretty damning on Colleen Ballinger's behavior from these group chats, as well as just a lot of other things over the years. And in the song, she just reduces that to, I was just a weird loser sending cringe. It was just a goofball doing loser weird stuff. And then still has the audacity to sing about how she's taking accountability? What the fuck? That's the opposite of accountability. You're minimizing, downplaying the very real harm you caused to your underage fans through these group chats, these interactions, and all the shit that you said and sent. That's not taking accountability. You are literally doing the exact opposite by saying, like, it's really not that big of a deal, it's just kind of weird, that's all. And then she goes in to just say about, like, This is just directly shitting on the victims. She goes then into the next part saying that the reason there's a mob mentality is because they're coming forward with all of these lies to monetize her demise because they don't like her. Well, Colleen Ballinger, let's supersize the McDonald's fries here. You're fucking insane. What are you talking about? How could you even, like, actually put this out there? I don't know how she could not only write this song, perform this song, and this is definitely not her first take, so go through this song multiple times, edit it, and then post this without realizing just how... I don't even know the right word. It's like almost downright evil she comes across. Because, again, this is like spitting in the face of all the victims that have come forward with a ton of evidence against her, saying it's not a big deal, they're wrong, they're just doing it for clout. It's so sickening.
I feel like I can already hear the comments on this video. She's gaslighting, manipulating. Oh, she's a narcissist and a rat. I would never make a mistake like that. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that all of you are perfect, so please criticize me. Bring out the daggers made from your perfect past and stab me repeatedly in my bony little back.
This is gonna come as a surprise, this is gonna be shocking. But yeah, most people aren't making mistakes like this. This isn't one of those like whoops-a-daisy mistakes that everyone makes in their life. Most normal people are going to go through their life without ever doing anything close to what you're accused of doing. Talking sexually with minors in a group chat, sending used underwear to kids. The list goes on, and she beats this point home about like how she's just made like a little mistake here and it doesn't make her a bad person. But this is, again, one of those mistakes that like actually does make you a bad person. This isn't like a little mistake. Like, she makes it sound like, oh, you don't have the right to criticize me because you're not perfect, your past isn't perfect. But most people's past isn't exactly one that's plagued by degeneracy like this. So, no one's perfect, of course, but that doesn't mean that people don't have the right to criticize you for just how ridiculously awful the shit that you are accused of doing is, and also how terrible this response is.
I'm sure you're disappointed in my shitty little song. I know you wanted me to say that I was 100% in the wrong. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna take that route of admitting to lies and rumors that you made up for clout.
Once again, just hawking a big fat loogie in the face of every victim that came forward here. If these are all lies and just rumors, why don't you prove your side of it? Why don't you provide any evidence beyond just a song that says things without showing things or proving things? There is nothing presented here that refutes a single claim at all. She's just singing things. And that's it. That's not evidence. The video and song goes on for like another 4 or 5 minutes, but she just keeps saying the same thing about how it's all lies and manipulation, but she doesn't prove any of that. Why wouldn't you want to like actually clear your name? I don't know what she thought this song would do. It doesn't offer any kind of explanation for anything to clear up what she's calling lies and rumors. It's nothing. There is mountains of like actual messages and videos of her engaging in very bad behavior, very awful things, which has led to people labeling her things like a groomer and a predator, which she really doesn't like, but that's what all of these documents lead towards, point towards, and she does nothing to refute any of it, except make this absolutely embarrassing song out of it. It's baffling. I couldn't believe this shit today. So yeah, like I said, I'm not going to play the rest of the video because she just keeps saying, it's all lies, it's just rumors, it's ridiculous, I can't believe you guys fell for it. But doesn't provide any kind of actual counterpoints or evidence or anything, so it's fucking useless. This is, I do think, the new worst YouTuber apology video, and that's not an easy feat to have accomplished, so that's wild. That's really about it. So yeah. EDP445 has issued an apology for the cupcake incident from 2 years ago. Not exactly the quickest response time, but it's a little bit faster than Valve responding to Team Fortress 2 issues. So I probably don't even need to give you the lore dump here. The story of EDP445's fall from grace is a more well-known story than Little Red Riding Hood by this point. But just in case, 2 years ago, he was caught in a child predator sting operation, which also unearthed a lot of other repeated instances of him being inappropriate with minors in his community. For this, he lost his entire career And since then, he has desperately been trying to claw his way back to the internet because it's all he knows. It's his only home. So he pathetically comes back like every couple of months for the last 2 years, like clockwork, with a new pitiful attempt at reviving his internet career. There's only a few certainties in life: death, taxes, and EDP coming back when no one wants him to. He's posted videos on every platform that allows video sharing capability. I wouldn't have been surprised if he tried to make a career out of streaming on Xbox 360 Arcade Uno, where they used to let you use the Xbox fucking Connect or whatever in order to like have a webcam chat in Uno servers. Wouldn't have been surprised if he tried that. He has gone to every platform ever and has been banned from all of them. Because what EDP did is unforgivable. This is not something you can ever come back from. He should be counting his lucky stars he's not in jail. He must have had fairy godparents and they granted him one last wish, and it was to avoid jail time. The only reason he's not there is because the investigation and all of the evidence was conducted online, so authorities usually don't use that in like actual prosecution or anything. So he must have collected all the fucking Dragon Balls and made a wish, and Shinron kept him out of jail. Because the amount of proof and evidence of not only the cupcake incident, obviously, where he actually went in person to meet a child for sex, not only just that, but like a repeated history of having similar circumstances with being inappropriate with kids, all of this very well documented. The fact that all of that exists and he's not in jail is beyond a miracle for EDP. And now he is once again doing his standard song and dance, trying to get back his internet career and find redemption. He's made a couple other videos in the past addressing it loosely, like where he's like eating a cupcake, so literally leaning into being a pedophile, I guess, and acknowledging it. And then only a handful of months ago, he made a statement on his website that was perhaps one of the wildest ideas ever cooked up by a human brain. He said that the whole cupcake incident, that whole scenario, was actually all acting. He was hired for an acting job to play a pedophile, and he committed to the role, and he had no idea it was going to be used as like a legitimate thing. He thought it was all just a Shakespearean play, basically, just part of, you know, the acting craft. But this is the first video he's made where he's apologizing and talking about it, like actually talking about it. And I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, wow, finally, he's taking accountability. He's starting to, you know, grow now, and you know, maybe he can move on from this. What a bunch of hooey. That is a load of fish paste. He doesn't, in his entire 8.5-minute apology video, he doesn't once refer to what actually happened. When he's talking about being caught in a child predator sting operation, he calls it that YouTube shit.
I want to take full responsibility for my actions that happened on April 21st, 2021. The entire YouTube shit that went down, the entire YouTube incident, you know what I mean, that went the fuck down. I'm not even going to get into it. You guys already know what the fuck happened. I'm taking full responsibility, full accountability for my actions.
He doesn't even say what he did and what he like is guilty of. He just loosely refers to it vaguely and brushes it off quickly. That is the opposite of taking accountability. He doesn't even fucking address it directly. Now, he states one of the reasons for the tardiness behind this apology is because he's been in talks with lawyers over the last couple of years about what he can and cannot say. And I'm just going to slap down the Phoenix Wright objection. I'm calling baloney, because if he did have a team of lawyers behind him after all these years, I'm assuming they would have advised him to not make any of the statements he's made over the last couple of years. Especially the one where he faked emails to try and confirm that all of this was actually just an acting moment. It was all just a ruse. It was supposed to be a movie, not real. It's all fake. Or the other statement he made about how it never happened in the first place and just outright denying it. I feel like if there were lawyers behind him for the last couple of years, they would have told him, do not do that. But let's play ball with that idea for a second. Let's assume he's being truthful. If the lawyers have told him to not mention any of the specifics of the incident, then you can't come on this video and pretend like you're taking accountability or responsibility. If you're not willing to actually tackle what happened and what you are guilty of and actually talk about it directly, then you can't pretend that you're somehow taking accountability or responsibility in the situation. I didn't want to talk about this apology video because I don't think there's any value here. I've already made a few videos talking about EDP over the last 2 years with every attempt he's made to try and come back to the internet. And this is just another one of those, a desperate Hail Mary to try and monetize an internet career again because it is all he has. It is the only home that he knows. So he keeps trying. but this is just not something that you can come back from.
Taking the proper measures and the proper steps forward to seek out help, to try to, get my head on right and to make sure that, in the distant future that I do not hurt, my loving, caring, supporting friends and family, because they are the ones that hurt the most. They are the ones that suffer the most.
No, they're not. The actual victims are. What do you mean? Yes, of course, they did get caught in the crossfire here from everything you did online, but you should really be apologizing far more to the actual victims. Not just the cupcake incident, but the actual children that you've been inappropriate with over all the years. He mentions that he's getting help to try and, not be a danger to children anymore, which is good, taking those steps, but even if they do cure the pedophile, it doesn't mean that you can come back as some kind of content creator again. You cannot have an internet career again after what you've done. Period. Full stop. There is no coming back from that. I do find it very upsetting that when he does make these attempts at comebacks, he does usually find an audience of delusional weirdos that downplay the severity of what he's done in his past. I'm talking about how pedophilia is not even a big deal and there wasn't any real victims, which is categorically false. He may not have actually met a child during the cupcake incident. It was all a sting operation, but there were very real victims to EDP that most people seem to forget. Actual children he was being inappropriate with. There are victims. It's not just that one time with the sting operation, the fucking Chris Hansen have a seat to catch a predator moment for EDP. There was many more. It's just not something you move on from. Now, he does mention at the very beginning of the video that he's come close to, hurting himself and ending it all over the last couple of years as a result of everything that happened with this whole situation. And he mentions that he's extremely remorseful for all of it and recognizes that it's all his fault. And he also mentions that his family has been harassed a lot from all of this. And overall, yeah, it's sad to hear that, but again, it is all your fault. You can't come back to the internet after all of this. You are a danger to children. You preyed on kids in your audience. You can't come back online from that. You should have been in jail, but got extremely lucky to avoid that. So you should have been satisfied with just being able to stay out of jail and completely cut ties with the internet. Buckle down in the real world and just do something else and never come back online. Now, I understand over the last 2 years he has tried getting other jobs, but some people have recognized him and felt unsafe because, shocker, child predators are a danger in society. So he did lose his job, his other couple of jobs he's had over the last couple of years, but that doesn't mean you just quit and then just go back to the internet to try and monetize there for your career. You cannot come back from what you did online, period. So you should have just kept trying to find a job that you can hold down where people aren't going to recognize and harass you, and just stay pursuing that. He also does mention that the reason he's making the apology is because he wants to eventually have redemption online, which I think what he's done is irredeemable. I really do. I feel like most people probably do as well. It's an unforgivable act, but he keeps trying. And I don't even think this apology is genuine. This feels once again like another plan of his to try and crawl back online, because he has done it so many times before. This is not really taking accountability or responsibility. He keeps saying that it is, but he can't even address the actual issue itself. And not only the cupcake incident, he doesn't even mention the other victims outside of that either. So he doesn't actually even take any accountability or anything like that. So I don't even think it's coming from a place of genuine remorse or anything. It really seems like it's coming from a place of desperation to find a career again online. So yeah, that's about it. So yep. Not long ago, there was that viral freakout on the airplane with the lady claiming that a passenger on board was not real. It was a huge meltdown and it really caught the internet by storm. It was a wild situation that had everyone confused and giggling, but it also really tickled the curiosity bone of a lot of unhinged lunatics. I don't know how better to say that. I can't be more charitable than that. There were so many people that started to speculate that she was onto something. This was all a ploy from the deep state with their 15-minute city agenda where they're sneaking robot, android, soulless husks disguised as people on our airline flights. And only this woman was able to see behind the curtain for the truth of the matter, calling out a fake person. And it was just this crazy conspiracy web about how, like, she's actually correct. There are fake people on these planes and she's onto something. And then they even started making up their own fanfic about how she's missing. The government must have found her, tracked her down, taken her out behind the barn and put her down like a sick animal. Like, just executed her for revealing the truth and opening her third eye with the Sharingan. Just pure pandemonium. This opened Pandora's box of mental illness on Twitter in particular. But I'm happy to say we finally have closure. She was never missing. She's been totally fine, just a little embarrassed about the situation, and today released an apology video. That's right, an apology video. Not only that, but body cam footage of her escort out of the airport also dropped, so we really got the whole kit and caboodle on this case here. In the footage, she seems drunk, a bit belligerent, but that's not 100% confirmed. I wasn't there. I didn't run a fucking toxicology report or breathalyze her or have her walk a straight line or anything like that. But that's how it seems. Just using my astute little peepers here, that's the impression I get, is she may have been hitting the alcohol a little hard before going on the flight, which would help explain the outburst. So, I want to show you a little bit of both of these things, and also what sparked this whole incident was allegedly she had misplaced her AirPods, she lost them, and accused a fellow passenger of stealing them. So, she just started pointing the finger, like, this nefarious, no good pile of shit just stole my AirPods, so he's not real, that motherfucker's not real. That's what started all of this, I guess. Anyway, let's check out the body cam footage and then we'll see the apology video. Also, what an incredible year for apology videos. This is like the 1,000th one that's dropped this year. If apology videos were a renewable energy source, we would be able to power the entire fucking globe from just this year's load of apology videos alone.
I don't care if I'm ever fly with y'all ever again. I want to know what happens to this flight right here.
Hey, this is the after action post-game report. It's me from the future. I'll go ahead and tell you what happened to that flight. It had a completely safe, uneventful, scheduled flight and landed at its destination A-OK. Despite what a couple of weirdos on Twitter were trying to circulate, the plane was totally fine. Nothing happened on the flight, aside from her getting escorted off and causing a major delay and a headache for all the passengers on board. It was totally fine. Like, everything turned out okay. It's not like she was some kind of prophet who predicted that the plane would have a problem.
Let that flight leave. Do not let that flight leave. Being dead serious. Do not let that flight leave. That flight's not going to make it to Orlando.
Let's go.
It's not going to. Can I just leave? You don't need to escort me out.
Yeah.
Can I just
You had your own warning. So, keep walking.
Oh yeah, until y'all see that fight blow up.
Okay.
It's clear she's very distressed, and it's also very clear that this is not a moment she's proud of. She made that much clear in her apology video as well. This is one of those very unfortunate things that was captured on camera, and we don't know exactly the cause, whether it was alcohol related or something else, but it is I do feel bad for her. In the modern age, everything gets filmed, so you're always going to see someone's lowest moment if it happens in public. That's just the way the world works now. And I was thinking about this when watching her apology video. I have a phobia of flying. If I happened to be in the airport, or heaven forbid, on the aircraft when this happened, I probably would have had an even larger outburst and freakout that would have eclipsed hers. I would have stole the spotlight because I would have been fucking losing my mind. If this lady stood up and started saying the plane's going down, that motherfucker's not real, all rational thoughts going out my noodle. I'm waving my arms around, I'm fucking screaming. I'm gonna sound like Donnie out of the Wild Thornberrys. Like just begging to get off of the plane. But anyway, let me show you her apology video. But before getting into it, I want to mention something. A lot of people, I guess, either recognized her or found information about her. Well, I'm guessing found information about her because she mentions that it was pretty invasive how people, like, got a hold of her information. People figured out that she's a marketing executive. So there was another narrative that spun like a week or two ago about how this whole thing was actually just a publicity stunt. And I just want to knock on your empty little noggin here and try and figure out how you could ever run with such a delusional idea. This is a horrible publicity stunt. That wouldn't do any good for her or her company. She's not advertising anything. She's not putting a product out there in front of people's eyes. This is pretty clearly not an attention-seeking publicity stunt for her marketing company. Like, I don't know how anyone would even think for a second that that's a plausible explanation. Just sit down for a moment, really just marinate in your swamp ass and form an individual thought. Why would this be a publicity stunt? Like, damn near landing on the no-fly list? For what? There's nothing good that comes out of this for her. So I don't know how anyone thought that somehow we had all been had. They pulled the rug out from under us. They bamboozled us. This was all just a marketing agency's calculated play. Somehow. It's so dumb. So fucking dumb. I wanted to mention that real quick. Anyway, here's her apology video.
As you know, I have been unwilling to speak on the viral video, but I do finally feel that it's time. First and foremost, I want to take full accountability for my actions. They were completely unacceptable. And I want to apologize to everyone on that plane, especially those that had children aboard. Can't imagine going through that and trying to explain to your kid what in the world just happened.
Overall, I think this was a totally fine apology video. It seems like she's very regretful of the whole thing because obviously this was very public. And she just apologizes to everyone involved in the situation. She takes accountability. She seems sincere. I don't have any real criticism or critique of the apology itself. I don't know where I'd put it on the internet apology tier list, but I think overall she did a fine job of coming forward and just being like, yeah, you know, we all have some very bad moments. Unfortunately, mine was very public and captured on camera for the whole world to see in fucking 4K, right? Like, it's just unfortunate circumstances. She also does mention that she found a lot of the memes that spawned from this to be comical, but then also mentions that there was a disturbing invasion of her privacy as well. Understandable to be upset about something like that too, for sure. So it's nice that she did come forward to finally put an end to all of like the conspiracy theories surrounding this situation. She didn't really go into detail on exactly what happened. So even the whole AirPod theory is still, I guess, speculation since it didn't come from her in this apology video. But it is nice that she came forward to clear the air a little bit here and hopefully put the kibosh on all these weird conspiracy theories surrounding the situation. It's not like she had to come forward like obligated to make an internet statement. By no means did she need to do this, but it is appreciated that she did decide to, just to issue some kind of statement on the whole thing since so many people were captivated by it. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of go over the situation here because now there's some closure to all of it. That's really about it. So yep. If there was a YouTube rewind this year, I imagine the bulk of the content would be apology videos. There have been more apology videos in 2023 than there have been apologies throughout the last 100 years of our species combined. And just like my age, that number only keeps going up. It's crazy just how common of an occurrence this is. And today we're going to look at a pretty rare one. This is the shiny Pokemon of apology videos. This one's not from a YouTuber or an internet content creator. It comes from two celebrities that I know all of you have seen before. Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis.
We are aware of the pain that has been caused by the character letters that we wrote on behalf of Danny Masterson.
So what are they saying I'm sorry for? What whoops-a-daisy blunder did they make? And I'm sorry to say this, sports fans, because it's not some kind of silly mistake. It's not like they gave like a hot take on anime and got dogpiled on Twitter for it or anything. What they did is actually pretty deplorable. They, as well as many others, were requested to write letters to a judge in regards to the Danny Masterson rape case. I actually didn't even know this was going on. I only just learned about this. Danny Masterson of That 70s Show fame, a show that Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis were a part of for a very long time, has just been sentenced to 30 years to life in prison for 2 out of the 3 counts of rape that he was facing. Danny Masterson was arrested in 2020, and this trial's actually had a lot of developments to it that I was just completely unaware of, but it's concluded now for the most part, and he was found guilty for 2 out of the 3 counts of rape that he was facing. And then it came out that Ashton Kutcher, Mila Kunis, and about 50 other people wrote letters to the judge of the sexual assault trial to just say nice things about Danny Masterson. I guess the idea was to try and hype him up as like, look at all these positive experiences we had with Danny Masterson. Inside Danny, there are 2 demons, a rapist and an incredible actor with a bright smile that could light up a room. And it's important that we don't overlook that second one. Let's focus on all these great experiences we had with Danny Masterson that we knew. You know, Mr. Hyde was a bad guy, but Dr. Jekyll, he was great. So, like, I guess the idea here was to try and get the judge to be a little bit more lenient or something, like to try and help Danny's case by just saying nice things about the Danny they knew. So an excerpt from Ashton Kutcher's letter says, Danny takes his job seriously. He is kind, courteous, and hardworking. He treated everyone from the grips to the Teamsters to the actors to the caterers as equals. As a role model, Danny has consistently been an excellent one. A great role model to rapists, maybe. What the fuck is this? This is just an absolutely evil thing to say about somebody like this. What? How delusional can you be? He took his job seriously. He even said good work to one of the caterers. I'd never seen such a saint on the That 70s Show set. To look at a caterer and actually engage in small talk blew my mind. I'd never seen anyone so sweet. He was truly a benevolent angel. A great role model if you just ignore all of the rape stuff. Like, holy shit. What in the world? What in tarnation? And Mila Kunis called him an amazing friend, confidant, and above all, an outstanding older brother figure. His genuine concern for those around him and his commitment to leading by example make him an outstanding role model and friend. Yucky. Yucky. An older brother figure, and still, she's echoing the same thing, a great role model. He just got convicted of rape, and it's not like this is a case with like a lot of holes in it, and it was like some kind of fishy investigation or something. Like this is a pretty cut and dry case. The only reason it took 3 years is because there is a lot of interesting stuff that may or may not have been going on with Scientology being involved. I don't like to even mention that word because that's a very scary thing to even bring up. Mentioning Scientology is like mentioning Voldemort in the real world. But perhaps there were, a few Tom Riddle diary exchanges that led to some shady shit going on throughout this case, at least from what I've read so far. This isn't something where you would see all of the evidence, see the verdict, and start wiggling your finger like, no, justice wasn't served here. Unless, of course, you're part of Danny Masterson's team, who's saying that they got it wrong and they plan to do everything they can to overturn it and all that shit. But, like, as someone who was a friend of him, you should see this and be like, oh, this is fucking revolting. Oh, Jiminy Christmas. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. I was friends with an absolute monster. And then you would not go up to bat for them. Like, you wouldn't start speaking to the great character of Danny Masterson. It's just incomprehensible to me. I couldn't imagine doing that. If my best friend in the world, someone I grew up with, someone I consider a brother, was just arrested and convicted of rape, I would not be singing his praises. I wouldn't be spreading the gospel about what an amazing guy he is, right? I wouldn't write a letter to the judge, even if I was requested to do so by his family, and say something like, listen, I dislike sexual assault as much as the next guy. That's some bad stuff. Rape, boo, don't like it. But he never raped me. So he's not all bad. And also, we used to butt chug brewskis in the bathtub together at the frat house. Like, this is a good guy, and it's just something to consider maybe when you're looking over this and deciding on sentencing. Like, I would not be trying to say anything positive about the person. So obviously, this made a lot of people upset to see them do that. It's craziness. So I'll finally get to the apology video now, but I feel like we needed all of this in order to understand why they're apologizing, what exactly they're apologizing for.
We are aware of the pain that has been caused by the character letters that we wrote on behalf of Danny Masterson.
We support victims. We have done this historically through our work and will continue to do so in the future.
But you also support your friend, even after all of the rape evidence was being put on trial. Like this, I'm very curious now how much they knew about him. Like, did they know all of this? Because they don't seem necessarily surprised, and they seemed more than willing to write these glowing letters that seem like fucking 5-star Yelp reviews of this guy. Like, even with all of this evidence of the sexual abuse, they're still calling him an outstanding role model, an older brother figure. Like, holy shit. I understand they've been friends for 2 decades, so I guess when Danny Masterson's family reached out to request that they write a letter, gushing grannies over how cool Danny Masterson is, they should have said no. They should have just hard rejected that on the spot. Of course, I'm not a lawyer, I haven't passed the bar, but I don't think this is some kind of obligation they had to fulfill here because there were other people that didn't write letters about Danny Masterson. But let's assume they were forced to. You can still say, I was one of Danny Masterson's best friends. I didn't know this side of him. I didn't know he was an evil person, so I don't feel comfortable saying anything nice about my experience with him. Full stop. Like, that could just be the end of it.
A couple months ago, Danny's family reached out to us and they asked us to write character letters to represent the person that we knew for 25 years so that the judge could take that into full consideration relative to the sentencing.
How rotted and corrupt is the brain of a Hollywood drone? Like a Hollywood fucking clout zombie. I can't even begin to try and process how their noodles work. How can you just say that so nonchalant, like it's not a big deal and not just fucking diabolical? They knowingly wrote these character letters to give the judge a full understanding of the situation to consider when giving his sentencing to Danny Masterson. So they knew that this was going to be used to try and get lighter sentencing for a man who committed heinous crimes. How do you sleep at night like that? Like after doing that? I don't get it. Like a lot of people wrote letters, of course, it's not just these two, but these two are the most public figures about it. But I imagine they called anyone that ever even crossed Danny Masterson's path, like, "Hey, it's me, Tim Clifford. I was Danny Masterson's third grade math buddy. We played together on the kickball squad and he was a superstar. One of the finest kickball players the East Coast had ever seen. Thanks for reading." And the judge would be there scratching his chin. I didn't consider that he might have been very good at kickball. Maybe we shouldn't be so harsh on him. Like, I understand it's not just these two. Like, everyone wrote these letters, and I guess they all understood that it was supposed to help Danny Masterson maybe get a lighter sentence. I just don't know how you can do that. Like, in good conscience, it makes no sense to me. You shouldn't want a convicted rapist to get a lighter sentence for the crimes.
The letters were not written to question the legitimacy of the judicial system or the validity of the jury's ruling.
They were intended for the judge to read, and not to undermine the testimony of the victims or re-traumatize them in any way. We would never want to do that.
Hey guys, we were just being super evil behind closed doors, and it's a real shame you guys had to see this side of us. We were hoping you weren't going to notice. This was really meant for the judge's eyes only. We don't want to re-traumatize victims. We just want to make sure the person that victimized them gets the lightest sentence possible for the crimes. And I like how they immediately go into an argument no one's making, like, our letters weren't meant to undermine the legitimacy of the claims. I don't think anyone's claiming they were. Your letters are there to serve as a way of trying to help your friend get a less long, less severe sentence for some absolutely evil shit they did. Which is very bad. It's still horrible.
And we're sorry if that has taken place.
Our heart goes out to every single person who's ever been a victim of sexual assault, sexual abuse, or rape.
Man, unfortunately they didn't even do the apology video classic cliche of saying thank you before signing off. You didn't even thank us for watching the apology video? Are you serious? Do you have no manners at all? But yeah, you care so much about the victims of these horrible things, and yet for some reason, a person who was actively engaging in these crimes, you decided to write really nice things about to try and help them. That's really weird. It's hard to believe you now, after all of this. It's just a fucked up situation. Danny Masterson is getting justice, which is the most important thing. But how the fuck could so many people around him willingly just write nice letters about him to try and actively help him in this case? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So yeah, that's really about it. So yeah. Well, well, well. What a day. This was quite a shocking twist here, like a Darman climax. We had YouTube finally issue a statement on what they're doing about the SSSniperWolf doxing situation, and we had SSniperWolf herself, the life of the party, come forward and make an apology post. And what a wacky ride it's been. And in the wise, timeless words of Captain Barbossa, you best start believing in cringe stories. You're in one, because this is an absolute fucking headache. I know I don't really need to give you any kind of lore breakdown to bring you up to speed because of how huge this story's become, but it just doesn't feel right if I don't at least set the table with some silverware, just in case you're a little hungry and don't know what's going on. So, the briefest bullet points. Jax Films is a huge YouTuber. He called out another huge YouTuber named SSSniperWolf for her reaction content to TikToks where she was basically just blatantly stealing it, not really transforming it, and he criticized her for it. He even made a whole channel dedicated to making fun of her and criticizing her for it further. So this led to this big stew of emotions and bad blood between the two of them. The stew bubbled over and started to spill when SSSniperWolf decided to dox Jack's Films on her Instagram story, where she showed up at his house and posted his house to her 5 million followers on Instagram, which obviously you can't do. That's a criminal act. SSniperWolf shows up at Jack's Films' door like the fucking hash-slinging slasher here, trick-or-treating when she wasn't invited, and claims that she was just trying to talk it out like adults, even though this is not how adults handle any kind of situation. You can't just dox someone that you have beef with online. So the question then became, what is YouTube going to do about it? Because not only is this not allowed legally, it's not allowed on YouTube's terms, period. And historically, YouTube has been cutthroat with this kind of thing. They do not take doxing lightly. So it's been about a week, and YouTube has finally broken their silence on what they plan to do. And man, what a fucking stinker. Boy howdy, it would be less smelly in a porta potty. Take a peek at their tweet here. Today they spat this drivel out, confirming SSniperWolf has received a temporary monetization suspension per creator responsibility policies. Off-platform actions that put others' personal safety at risk harm our community, and the behavior on both sides isn't what we want on YouTube. Hoping everyone helps move this convo to a better place. They actually just unironically dropped a both sides in this situation. That is one of those things where you read it and it's like a flashbang hits you, like all your senses go out and you have to question if what you just read was real. I don't even know how they were able to reach deep enough in their ass to pull out a both sides statement for this one. Like, what did he do wrong? I don't know why they're trying to make it sound like he's also guilty in this, or maybe even, somewhat responsible and to blame for how this played out, which is kind of how it reads, like they're fucking victim blaming him here. Like, what was his crime? What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal? This is Democracy Manifest. That's a classic Charles Doza line. I just had to slide in there. That just felt natural. But yeah, again, what did Jack's Films do wrong? He is completely blameless here. There's no reason why they should be trying to make it sound like Jack's Films did something wrong. His only crime was being alive, which gave her the means to target him. Like, I really can't wrap my head around how they could even make it seem like Jack's Films is even remotely in the wrong here. If they're trying to say that the criticisms that he keeps tossing towards SSniperWolf is unwarranted, so the behavior is unacceptable, then that's even more delusional, because there's nothing wrong with criticisms. There's nothing wrong with making fun of SSniperWolf's content. He has literally done nothing that warrants any level of blame or warrants this kind of response from SSniperWolf to fucking dox him and publicly dox him and show up to his house. This was YouTube's chance for a big W here to finally prove they don't play favorites even with their most lucrative cash cows. This is one of those actions where it should have resulted in a harsh punishment, and YouTube had the opportunity to showcase, listen, we're gonna put the rumors to bed once and for all. There's no favoritism on this platform. We all play by the same rules. We all, put our pants on one leg at a time. SSniperWolf is getting punished for doxing. We don't take it lightly. But they didn't. They were extremely slow and very clearly extremely reluctant to take even the lightest bit of action against her. A temporary monetization suspension isn't the harshest punishment in the world. It is still a punishment, yes, but it's still more of like a slap on the wrist. We don't know how temporary it is. It could be like a fucking 10-hour monetary suspension. Like, this is actually the scene in SpongeBob. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Shuts the door. Okay, you're free to go. And it's like just 2 seconds has elapsed. It's just not really what most people would have expected from this, because it's not really enough for most people, given the gravity of the situation here, where Jack's Films and his wife don't feel safe in their own home as a result of all of this. So this seems like a situation that they did just because they felt like they had to. There was too much backlash for them to continue to bury their head, so they did like the teeniest, tiniest little tiptoe into the pool of punishment, and they issued this temp monetization halt on SSniperWolf's content. I imagine once all of this blows over, they'll flip it back on and it'll be back to business as usual for SSniperWolf and YouTube. I'm sure she'll RSVP at the next, creator summit for YouTube. Like, it's just not really satisfactory for the majority of people here. And to top it all off, it's the way YouTube delivers it. Again, trying the both sides thing is just, it's so crazy and delusional. Now, SSniperWolf did also issue an apology post She couldn't even be bothered to do an apology video. She put it on Twitter, which is by far her least large platform, to try and keep as many eyes off of it as she can from her audience. So at least as of right now, as of me making this, she hasn't made an apology video for her actual core audience to see. The timing of her apology statement is also very interesting because it comes almost immediately after YouTube's post. So this leads me to believe that SSSniperWolf and YouTube had some kind of handshake agreement where it'll be like a light punishment as long as she makes an apology on Twitter, and she obliged. Let me start by saying I'm sorry for my most recent actions. It is inexcusable. I'm sorry to Jax Films, YouTube, the entire creator community, and my incredible fans for not being a better example for appropriate conflict resolution. Jax Films, while we certainly don't see eye to eye and have our differences, I'm sorry for reacting the way I did when I should have taken the opportunity to show young creators how adults and professionals resolve conflict by communicating directly, respectfully, and privately. Not for views or content, but a meaningful example of how conflict should be solved. I will reach out directly and hope we can find some time to connect and communicate respectfully. I'd also like to thank YouTube for holding me accountable. I deserve it. Respect the decision and appreciate the opportunity to learn and grow from a true lapse in judgment. I don't really have too many thoughts on her apology. Anytime I even hear the phrase or read the phrase lapse in judgment, I just immediately think of the Logan Paul apology video. But there's really nothing she can say here. What she's done is absolutely indefensible. It's also very unlikely that she's being genuine here. Like, I don't think she feels remorse for it or anything. She did immediately make light of it by saying, "We pull up to your house, what are you going to do?" on her Instagram story following all of this. So this really does seem like this was kind of forced on her by YouTube. Not even the backlash from her audience or everyone online. I think she still believes that what she did is okay. It's just YouTube made her do this. That's my working game theory here. That's the impression I get. When she says thanks to YouTube for holding her accountable, that seems really fake. YouTube isn't really holding her accountable. Temporarily suspending her monetization is a punishment, sure, but it's not exactly one that fits the crime, which is why so many people are dissatisfied with this whole situation and the way that it's concluding here. Unfortunately, it does seem like this is where the situation is wrapping up, and I don't think a lesson has been learned by SSSniperWolf nor by YouTube. I truly think that all of the backlash over the last week, the millions upon millions of people that have been talking about it nonstop, did not matter at all to either party. They just felt at some point, okay, fine, we'll do a little something so you guys can just shut up about it. And that's what we saw today. Pretty disappointing stuff overall. That's about it. So yeah. It just wouldn't feel right if 2023 didn't conclude with at least one more horrible YouTuber apology video, and luckily, Krampus did not let us down, delivering a nice lump of coal under the tree. This had been a year filled to the brim, the cup runneth over, on bad YouTuber apology videos. I was a naive fool to think that we had seen the last of apology videos for 2023, and how wrong was I. In the fourth quarter here, the last week or so of 2023, we were blessed with one more from James Somerton. He was featured prominently in H-Bomber Guy's newest video on plagiarism. I'm sure all of you have seen this video by now. If you haven't, that is shocking to hear and should probably go check it out. And I'm not going to recap the whole video, but I will give you a brief synopsis of James Somerton's role in it. But basically, James Somerton was pretty much caught with his hand in the cookie jar, plagiarizing his entire online content, fundamentally. It also goes even deeper than the plagiarism. He was accused of multiple other bad things in regards to his content and claims he was making, and a bunch of other variety of things. And in response to that, James went dark. He went off the grid, bought a log cabin in the middle of the woods, grew out a lumberjack's beard, he bought a Hoover from, Breaking Bad, and he disappeared. So he went offline, and then a couple days ago, posted a surprise apology video going over all of it, which he deleted a couple hours later when it didn't get the response he was expecting it to. But it's been re-uploaded, and I kind of wanted to cover it a little bit just because it feels right. 2023 had so many of these. We've got to usher in 2024 the right way with an apology video to kick us off getting into the new year. So let's take a peek.
Hi everyone. I'm sorry for taking so long to make this video or to say anything. I'm in the hospital. I've been in the hospital for a little over a week.
Call me John Madden because I'm going to walk you through the play in this playbook here. It's called Emotional Manipulation. It's a timeless classic. There is no reason he should be starting this video with this story here. He uses this technique multiple times throughout the video and doesn't really even address the accusations head on. It's mainly a lot of deflection. But what I want to focus on is just how hard he leans on trying to garner sympathy through this. Now, it's always sad to see someone struggling and going through a hard time and contemplating extremely terrible things with their life, but it's not something that you need to be sharing online in this capacity, and it's also not something most people would be comfortable sharing online, especially in response to things like this, because it comes across as very insincere and disingenuous and kind of like using it as though it makes you immune to criticism because now you've gone through this, if that makes sense. And that's pretty much what his whole audience said too. Even the ones that were trying to rally behind him, hoping for a real explanation, this left a very bad taste in their mouth because it's completely unrelated to what should be being talked about, which is his plagiarism as well as the other things he's been accused of. He doesn't need to be sharing this information with us. This is a very private matter that he should have kept private.
I tried to do something really stupid. I'm really only here now because before I did it, I called my dad to talk to him one more time, and he figured out something was wrong and called paramedics or 911 or...
Once again, there is no reason to be telling this extremely personal story to your audience when this is supposed to be a video addressing all of the accusations against your content. It's just the only reason this is here is so that way people can sympathize with him and feel sorry for what he's been going through. And make no mistake, from what he describes here, it's an extremely horrible experience that I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy. But it has no place in this video. It just comes across as super fucking tone deaf here. Just talk about, if you want to make an apology video or explain your side of things, then do that. And don't go into the private side of what's been happening behind the scenes since the accusations came out.
They got here and I woke up in the hospital and yeah, anyway, I'm not trying to make this a sob story. I'm just trying to explain why I've been so quiet.
You spent the entire first minute and a half making it a sob story, though. That's not an accident, and you could have edited that out. It's here because you wanted it to be here, to start with immediately trying to get the waterworks going with people crying over how awful this experience is before you get into what's supposed to be your side and your apology over everything. It's just textbook emotional manipulation trying to make everyone feel bad for you, even though you were the guilty party who got caught, and this is you trying to talk about that, and you still haven't yet, even though we're already kind of deep into the video. Now, it is a 34-minute video, so a minute and a half isn't like the bulk of it, but he sprinkles this throughout the entire thing, so you can't really make a good argument that it's only here to try and explain why he took so long to make this video. A, you don't need to explain why you took so long. You really don't. If you really wanted to give an explanation, you could just make it super concise, like, hey, had stuff going on. Or this has been an extremely stressful period of time in my life from all of this, so I've taken some time to process everything, and now I feel comfortable going forward. Like, you didn't need to dive into it like this, and you didn't even need to explain why it took you that long in the first place. And on top of that, he does also still go over these really sad things in his life throughout the whole thing that aren't just there to explain why it took him so long to talk about all of this. So it really does feel like he's trying to emotionally manipulate people with his apology video. But even when he is done going through this story and actually trying to talk about what's been going on, he takes really no responsibility. He does say I'm sorry a lot, but it feels kind of hollow when he starts throwing somebody else under the bus for things and then kind of belittling the whole situation itself, boiling it down to something far simpler than it is. Like, there were a lot of accusations against him, none of which he really defends himself on in any meaningful way whatsoever. It really feels like the main purpose of the video is to make the audience feel bad. Like, make them, like, blame them, basically, for what he's going through, as opposed to taking that responsibility for fucking up with plagiarizing his whole career.
Really, really sorry. Really, really sorry. For the stuff in the videos, not crediting people, and I lost my best friend because of this. Nick and I had been best friends since...
I don't think I really need to show you more of the video itself. You get the idea of exactly how this goes for the rest of the 30 minutes of it. It's just a really baffling decision to post this in the first place, and it's something he recognized pretty quickly when he saw the responses coming in, the Yelp reviews. So here's his community post addressing it. Earlier tonight, I uploaded a video apologizing for what I've done, but it's become clear after hearing from several people that I am not in a healthy frame of mind to be posting anything online. I only returned home from the hospital yesterday, so I should have never filmed it. I've deleted the video, but I'm sure it has been downloaded and will be shared by others online. I promise to apologize properly and in detail when I'm more mentally stable. Until then, please know that I am sorry. He understands that this wasn't a good idea, but insists that he is sorry and will return at a later date to make a better apology video. And I have to say, that doesn't seem like a good idea. Like, I don't understand why he's even going to bother trying. There is really nothing that's going to improve for his online career through an apology. His audience isn't going to stick around through it. They were there for his content, and his content was stolen. It was all plagiarized. Like, there's no reason for them to stay, and it's not something he can just move on for and keep pumping out bangers, because no one's going to believe that it's original work or anything that he himself created. So there's nothing he can possibly gain from even making an apology. He should just do something else that's not being a YouTuber, or find a completely different niche on YouTube to try and make it big in. Like, there's just nothing he can really do for the James Somerton brand here. So I don't know why he's going to try and make another apology video later. It just seems kind of silly to even bother. He doesn't have anything that proves him innocent from the claims. He really was kind of, caught pants around the ankle here. It's kind of kaput. Like, it is clear he plagiarized a lot of things, and there's a lot of other accusations on top of that as well from the way he conducted himself and some of the content, like in some of the things he said. And there's really not a whole lot he can do to come back from that and make this big triumphant comeback with an absolute fucking banger apology. That's just not going to happen. So why even do it? Just go do something else, man. Just move on from it. So yeah, I just wanted to cover this a little bit just because it's one more bad apology in 2023. I figured might as well complete the year the only way we know how, with bad YouTuber apologies. Yeehaw. That's about it. See ya.